Hello, my wonderful friends. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Sarzana, and today we're going to be discussing the books that I read in the month of February. Let me just start out with saying how traumatizing February was for me. Currently, I am in kind of a book slump because of the books I read in February. Well, let me correct myself. A book I read in February. Let's go ahead and just dive into the books that I read. In February, in preparation for a certain special book, I read House of Sky and Breath. And it was much needed. I really needed to reread this book, and it brought me back into the Crescent City world. It reminded me a lot of the things that I had forgotten. Since this is the second book in this series, I don't want to go too much into it and spoil you guys. However, I will say that I had forgotten a lot of things that had happened in this book and in this series. I'm sorry. If you guys hear chewing, that's Shadow. She's chewing on a bone right now. You guys want to meet Shadow? I think I showed you guys quickly in my previous video, but I'll show you guys her again. So this is Shadow. She's having a little snack right now. She's keeping me company while I record, and I can't leave her alone because she's having accidents all around the house. So yeah, she's here with me. We love dogs. If you couldn't tell, I have 3, and I wouldn't mind having more because that's just the kind of person I am. However, let's dive back into the book. So House of Sky and Breath, we pick up right where House of Earth and Blood had ended. We go back into the story, and things are like pretty chill throughout the beginning, and then things just kind of like start to pick up, and a lot of questions are answered that are lingering in House of Earth and Blood and the way that it had ended. And then the way House of Sky and Breath ends, it is so traumatizing that I don't know how I didn't start the 3rd book right after this book. And obviously it's because I read this as soon as it came out and the 3rd book wasn't available. So I was tortured for, what, 2 years? I think we had to wait 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years for the 3rd book. I can't remember. It was very traumatizing. Really took my time reading this because I needed to kind of soak everything in, and I wanted to prepare for House of Flame and Shadow. That's a great segue into going into the next book that I read in February, which was House of Flame and Shadow. My goodness, you guys, the way this book had me at a chokehold, the way I was consumed. Today's March 10 and I am still thinking about this book, and I am unwell. Like, I am having such a hard time moving on from this book, and the characters, what they all had gone through, the friendship, something I strive to have in reality. The romance was off the charts, and I think we get so many questions answered that we were asking throughout book 1 and 2 of Crescent City. Sarah J. Maas did a phenomenal job interconnecting the things that she interconnected. I almost spoiled you there. Oh my goodness. Since this is the 3rd book also, like, it's so hard to articulate my feelings for this without spoiling you guys. And I don't want to spoil you guys because some of you may still be starting out in the Sarah J. Maas world, and or maybe you guys didn't even start Crescent City 1 yet. I don't want to spoil you guys. I will tell you that it's so worth it. Look at this. It's so worth this chunker right here. It's worth reading it. Enjoy your time. Don't rush it. Go through it page by page and just soak everything in. Make sure that you're paying attention to every little detail through books 1 and 2 into book 3. It will really pay off if you're paying attention. If you guys read the Throne of Glass series, you guys will notice that Aelin and Bryce have a lot in common. I don't know if it's just me. Like, let me know in the comments below. What did you feel? Did you feel like that Bryce and Aelin were sisters? Like, I feel like they had so much in common. I loved going back into this world. I had really missed being in this world. I feel so grateful for having this book in my hand and for owning like multiple copies of this book. I don't recommend it. I am not supporting the fact that the publishers have the audacity to publish the same book with different bonus content for different stores. I don't support that, and I think it's wrong to make readers and consumers spend their money on the same product with a few pages that are different. I just thought that was super wrong, and I just want to say that before I move on to the next book, because it's so wrong. This was a 5-star. I think I forgot to tell you guys, House of Sky Breath, again, my reread, was a 5-star. The storyline is amazing. The magic system is brilliant. The friendship, the banter, every single one of these books are amazing. The way this book wrapped everything up was perfection, in my opinion. I know that there's a lot of controversial opinions about this book and the way it ended and the way the plotline had gone. Some of it was a little slow for me. I had a difficult time staying interested in certain storylines. I was just kind of like, okay, get to the point already, but it was building us up for certain things. I liked how everything was wrapped up. I liked how everyone found what they needed to in this book. I appreciate Sarah J. Maas so much for putting this into the world. Thank you so much. I went to the midnight release party as soon as this came out. Yeah, I had already pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble's special edition, I believe. No, I didn't. I didn't order the Barnes & Noble special edition. I forget why. I think it had like sold out or something like that with the bonus content. So I ended up going to the midnight release party, and I'll link the video up here if you guys want to go and check it out if you haven't yet. And I had the best time ever. That was like my first midnight release party, and I had a really good time interacting with other Sarah J. Maas lovers, and everyone was just so excited to read Crescent City 3. We were talking about all of the theories that we had for the different storylines for Sarah J. Maas and seeing if we can find connections and stuff like that. And we were discussing what might be happening in this book, and it was just so much fun. I've never gone to an event before where I got to speak with people that I don't know who love the same book I do, and they're just as excited as me to read a book. And just getting this book in my hands, I was just so excited to get this book in my hands, and it was just such a great opportunity. A little off topic here, but the people that I met at the midnight release party, I also met at another event that I had gone to earlier this month, I think, and it was at the Doylestown Bookshop where I got to meet Nisha Sharma. I'll also link that video up top here so you guys can go and check it out. And I got to meet Nisha Sharma in person and a bunch of other awesome authors, and they signed my books and stuff like that. That was my second book event that I have ever gone to. It was also with book lovers who were excited to meet their favorite authors and get their book signed. I broke my book buying ban for that event as well, and at this point I'm about to throw my book buying ban out the window, because what is the point? Because I keep breaking it for like special occasions and like book events. So I'm just rethinking this process. We'll see. However, again, 5 stars. I'm gonna move on to the next book. So before I read House of Flame and Shadow, I was reading this book, and it had really drawn my attention to the storyline, plot, and the characters and everything. I was really intrigued by it. I was thinking about it while I was reading House of Flame and Shadow as well. I was happy to pick it up after House of Flame and Shadow. That book is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen, and it was such a wholesome read. Like, it was cozy. It wasn't necessarily a fantasy. Like, it felt more like a historical romance to me. When I did research to figure out what the genre of this book was, I got like high fantasy, romantasy, fantasy fiction, and I personally wouldn't categorize it as anything fantasy necessarily, because there was no magic and stuff in it. Like, at least that I could see. Like, I didn't see any magic or anything in this, so I wouldn't put it in that category. However, the storyline is amazing. There is the perfect amount of enemies to lovers in this, you guys. I don't think I've ever read a enemies to lovers done as well as Danielle L. Jensen has done in The Bridge Kingdom. It was spectacular. I had the best time, and it was like the best medicine that I could have for healing from House of Flame and Shadow also. And I went through this book pretty quickly. I read this on my Kindle and physically at times. I got it read in a few days. So it's a pretty short read. I would highly recommend that you guys go and check this out. I think I also gave this 5-star. Yeah, so I also gave this a 5-star. It was just phenomenal, and the way that it ended, I needed to pick up the second book right away and figure out what had happened throughout the storyline. The female main character, she is a total badass. I was reading about female badasses all month of February, and the storyline is about Lara and Arryn. Lara is forced to marry Arryn because she needs to keep the treaty that was placed between her kingdom and his kingdom, and she thinks like he's this bad evil man. She is there to kill him. So you can imagine how they fall in love, and like throughout the entire book she like hates him and she wants to kill him and bring his kingdom down, but at the same time she's like falling for him. So you get like that tug of war going on in this book, and it's so delicious. I can't even put into words how awesome it was. And Arryn is such a kind-hearted man, and from the beginning he treats her right, and from the beginning she wants to like kill him and destroy his kingdom, which is just like you're seeing both POVs. Also, that's another thing that I really loved about this book, both of their point of views. It was perfection, and this is definitely one of those books that I would not mind rereading. Like I've said this here multiple times and I will say it again, I am not a rereader, and for me to say that I will reread a book is very rare. And let's see if I actually reread it. However, I feel like I would want to reread this story. It's so good. I kind of want the hardback now because I saw that the hardback has like a map, and yeah, totally worth it. Totally healed me from House of Flame and Shadow. I am still a little bit bruised, but I will get better. And then right after the Bridge Kingdom, I picked up the Traitor Queen. Like the name says it all. Like if you know, you know. So the Traitor Queen, it picks up right where the Bridge Kingdom ended, and it's literally chaos from the beginning until the end of this book. There's so much going on, and the entire time you're like, I have to keep reading. I need to know what happens next. The main characters are in so much trouble, and there is so much action. We see a sense of loyalty for Arryn through his people, and the things that happens to Arryn I feel really bad for. My heart goes out to him. Lara is a total badass. She totally comes through. She is a freaking warrior, and this is where the enemies really become lovers. Like we see a little bit of it in the Bridge Kingdom, but here it's just magical. Their love, their connection is beautiful. Her friendship, the found family in this is also amazing. We also get to see Lara's family members and her relationship with her family, which is very insightful. And I will say that this was not as great as the Bridge Kingdom for me. I feel like some of it was also a little bit rushed, like especially towards the ending. Like I felt like things were a little bit rushed, and I would have liked to see a little bit more detail about how certain things were done. It felt like we were missing certain things throughout the story. Like how do we get from point A to B? Like I want to see how it all happens without obviously too much detail. Like there is a thing as too much detail, but there also is a thing as jumping from point A to point B without giving us any sprinkle of anything throughout the middle. So that's kind of how I felt. I hope that makes sense. So I gave this a 4-star, which isn't bad. I would love to continue on to the next books in the series. I think I'm gonna wait until I get the physical copies because I am still trying to get through my 50 book promise that I made to myself, and I think I've read like 11 books out of the 50 for my physical books. I accounted for House of Flame and Shadow even though I just bought it and it wasn't a part of my physical TBR, but it got added on. So what are you gonna do? I make the rules. So this was a 4-star, and I am looking forward to reading the rest of the books in this series in the near future whenever I can get my hands on them. All in all, I had a really great time with the books that I read in February, and I only read 4 books, which isn't great. I feel kind of crappy about that, but I'm trying really hard to enjoy what I'm reading without rushing it, because I felt like last year I had rushed it and I was trying to like meet my Goodreads goals, and I don't want to do that to myself again. It's like I really just want to enjoy my time reading my books. Hopefully in March I will get a good amount of reading done, but I am feeling a little bit better after reading The Bridge Kingdom and The Traitor Queen about continuing on and reading a few more books from my physical TBR this month, and I am proud of myself. I read like 2,000 pages last month, so I'm good with that. I feel really good about it. I'm really glad we got to wrap up Crescent City 3 with House of Flame and Shadow. The way that story is sticking with me, I wish I could give it like a 10-star. Like, it will live with me forever. I hope you're all having fun reading the books that you're reading, or just doing well in general. Daylight savings has happened and we are going to get longer days, so we're going to get a little bit more sun. And for a lot of you that may go through what I go through, which is seasonal depression, I hope you're doing well and I hope this heals you. And that concludes my video, guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you for sticking around and watching this video. And if you want to go ahead and put in the comments what you guys read in February, or what you're reading right now, let me know what you're reading right now, what you're enjoying. I would love to know. If you haven't liked this video yet, please go ahead and hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. That way you will not miss any videos from me in the future. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Bye.